The night after crossing forbidden boundaries left us wrapped in emotions we could no longer deny. The house was engulfed in a deep silence that seemed to press down on everything. It was the kind of stillness that made even the walls feel alive with secrets. I lay in bed, eyes open, tracing the faint lines of moonlight stretching across the ceiling. My mind was too restless to find peace tonight. Memories swirled. How everything had shifted in this house. How our lives had turned upside down since Eric and his mom moved in. Life has a strange way of bringing people together, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that my stepson had somehow drifted even farther from me. The night felt different. There was an unexplainable tension in the air, as if something was about to happen. The soft creak of a floorboard snapped me out of my thoughts. I froze, straining my ears, but no, I hadn't imagined it. There it was again, a light, almost tentative footstep coming from somewhere down the hallway. It was well past midnight. Who else could be up at this hour? I considered getting up, but something in me hesitated. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe just plain curiosity. I lay there holding my breath, listening to the faint sounds of someone moving down the hall. My heart raced, that familiar thrill of tension taking over. Who could it be? The sounds grew closer, pausing just outside my door. The door handle turned, and the door creaked open a sliver. For a moment, nothing happened, just a sliver of darkness beyond the doorframe, as if someone were standing there, watching, waiting. I stayed absolutely still, wondering if maybe it was all in my head. Then, without a sound, the door eased, shut, and I heard those same soft footsteps retreating back down the hall. I didn't move for a long time, my mind racing with questions. Had someone been there? And if so, why would they come to my door only to leave without a word? After a few tense minutes, I finally convinced myself it was just my imagination. But no sooner had I settled back into bed than my phone lit up beside me. The screen glowed with a single message from Eric. "Can't sleep either?" I stared at the message, feeling a strange mix of relief and surprise. It was rare for Eric to reach out like that. He usually kept to himself, always guarded, always distant. I quickly typed back a response, but before I could send it, I heard the soft creak of the hallway floor again. My heart leaped, and I held my breath as the footsteps drew closer, pausing just outside my door. This time, I couldn't stay still. I slipped out of bed, my pulse pounding in my ears, and opened the door. Eric was standing there, his face partially obscured by the shadows, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. "Eric," I whispered, my voice barely audible. He looked at me, and for a moment, we just stood there, staring at each other in the dim light of the hallway. There was a vulnerability. In his gaze, a rawness that made my chest tighten. "I couldn't sleep," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded, feeling the same restlessness, the same tension that had been building between us for days, weeks, maybe even months. Without thinking, I stepped aside, letting him into the room. He hesitated, but then stepped inside, his movements slow, almost hesitant. The silence stretched between us, thick and charged, as we stood there, each of us searching for the right words, the words that might make sense of this strange connection we'd both been dancing around. But there were no words, just a shared understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the tension that simmered beneath the surface. He looked at me, his gaze softening, and for a brief moment, I felt a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. Something that felt like hope, or maybe relief, as if we were finally letting down the walls we'd both been holding up for so long. I didn't know what was happening between us, didn't know where this would lead, but as we stood there, the weight of our shared silence pressing down on us, I felt a strange sense of comfort. Like, for the first time, we were finally seeing each other, truly seeing each other, without the barriers we'd both put up. And though the air was thick with unspoken words, with questions we didn't dare to ask, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever this was, it was only the beginning.